This is the FunBelt Podcast, part of the Believe Network.
Hosts the Dusty Thibodeau of Warhawk Report, Jeremy Harper of Powell Razor, and Shane Metlin of the Daily News Record.
I think it's potentially a very good week for the Sun Belts.
But I'm just kind of going off on a random rant. It's just frustrating. It's not potentially a good week for the Sun Belt. It's a great week for the Sun Belt, Shane Metlin, because the Warhawks put a notch in the win column, beating South Alabama, and not just beating South Alabama, an 11-point victory at home in Fant Ewing Coliseum. What a way to send Keith Richard out his final year with a huge conference win against number 2 South Alabama. What more could you want, Jeremy?
Well, I mean, if you have to be 0-8, you might as well get your first win against South Alabama.
Why are you focused on the record? We weren't focused on the record. We were focused on the game.
I tell you what, though, the Warhawks looked absolutely fantastic that game. You know, and you were the one who identified the weakness of the Warhawks, is they always play a great first half. They look competitive. They look like they could win the game. They're fast. They're physical. And then the second half, they just totally blow it. In fact, I think the announcers for the game said, yeah, it's usually in the last 2 minutes that we completely fall apart. And at times, it looks like that was going to happen, Thibs. It looked like that was going to be the case. But no, the Warhawks held strong. It made South Alabama just look like a bad team, I thought.
Yeah, and I can't help but think that the snowstorm that delayed that game until the Monday after it was supposed to have been played to the advantage. That gave the Warhawks a little bit more time to be able to rest, recoup, and get ready. Because as we said, it's a depth issue. And they're fatigued, they're tired, the grind of the season's getting to them. And what a better way to get the win than when Mother Nature comes out and keeps the Jaguars at bay in the blizzard of South Alabama.
Yeah, the Warhawks had that home crowd, which it wasn't huge, but, you know, you got your home court and you have your people behind you. And they just played well. I mean, Dynamite 3. Who was the guy hitting all the threes?
Colty Young, Jackson State transfer.
Yeah, he was hitting them from the logo. So, and meanwhile, the Jags, they didn't really have anything. They couldn't get anything down. Broome would come in every now and then. Broome, that's his name. He would hit a 3, but really nobody else on that team was really picking it up. So I don't know if it was the defense of the Warhawks or maybe a little bit of fatigue. If you watched the other game last night, Southern Miss and Troy, it seemed like some teams looked really tired. Like the Jags looked tired and Southern Miss looked tired. Southern Miss looked like zombies out there. They looked god-awful against Troy last night, which was a little bit surprising to me, being that they're at their home court. I don't think they had lost all season, or maybe one game they had lost at Southern Miss. But, yeah. So, I don't know. Maybe we're at the midpoint of the season, Tim. Maybe people are kind of wearing out.
Shane, what do you think? Do you think it's the midseason blues, or is there something funky going on, or was it just Bayou Magic that helped the Warhawks beat the Jaguars?
I think it might be that we have to hand off the title of the weirdest team or most hard to figure out. We gave that to ODU. Did that qualify for basketball too, as well as?
At first it did, because ODU was suddenly in first place in basketball and winning games. They're no longer doing that. Do you think the Warhawks are the weirdest team, Shane?
No, South Alabama.
Oh, okay.
Kick the ever-living crap, so we don't have to put the non-safe for work thing on there. You know,
you mean
stuffing out of some good teams. Like they beat App State so bad. They beat JMU, which is an up and down team, but there's talent there. Like, you know, they're top half of the league right now. Beat them so bad. And then they lose to ODU. They lose to ULM. It's really hard to figure out, you know, what's going on with them or what to expect night to night when they were looking pretty consistent for a while.
Yeah, when they beat Arkansas State, when the Jags beat Arkansas State, they beat Arkansas State by 14. And this was after beating JMU by more than 20, beating Georgia Southern by more than 20, just pounding their opponents. The announcers had said, and they were pretty confident about this. The Jags are the best team in the Sun Belt, and at the time, it was really hard to argue because they look like the best team in the Sun Belt. I've watched their last 2 games. They played Troy and they played ULM, and they do not look like the same team. I don't know if they're just in a slump. I don't know if coaches have figured them out, but there's something going on with the Jags.
What else do you expect? How many times in the past have we said, "Oh, we love the Jaguars. We love the Jaguars. They're great. Look at our talent," and they just absolutely don't live up to the hype. So maybe this is once again. Only this time we were not fooled, Jeremy.
No,
We buy into the hype.
I bought into it a little bit.
For shame, Jeremy. For shame.
They look terrific. Those 4 or 5 games. Shane, back me up. They look terrific, right?
I bought into the hype too because they were just killing people. And I mean, it wasn't that they were slipping past teams and putting together a winning streak where maybe they got a little bit lucky. They were just beating people down. So I bought into the hype and the fact that they were doing it early in the season, which it's usually they get off to a slow start and then they're dangerous in the tournament. Like it seemed like they had it all figured out at this point.
Well, Shane, maybe you and I are a little biased because I cover the Red Wolves, you cover James Madison. Both those teams destroyed. Thibs sees them come into Monroe. The Warhawks handle them easily, and he's like, what was the big worry with these guys?
But we're at the midway point of the season.
Yeah.
Who's been your biggest surprise and who's been your biggest disappointment so far out on the men's side of the bracket? And I'll tip it off. I think the biggest surprise to me has been Old Dominion. And the reason I say that, coming in with a new head coach, a new roster, not really knowing what to expect, and the fact that he's sitting over 500 in Sunbelt Conference play at 5-4. And as you said, Jeremy, started off 2-0, 3-0 in conference play.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Jones, the man, the myth, the legend. He lives up to the rap hype that we had when we had him on the show back after he was announced. The disappointing team to me, I'm actually going to go with Coastal Carolina. I feel like that they had some decent talent coming into the year, but we have not seen it after Sunbelt Conference action started.
Yeah, Coastal brought in those 2 big 7-footers, 7+ footers, and they make contributions in the game, but they just don't seem to have any firepower. Just watching, it's just a boring game to watch when you're watching a Coastal Carolina game. I think my biggest disappointment is Georgia State. I thought they had brought in a bunch of really good guys. They pretty much overhauled their whole roster. Got rid of some of the guys from last season, some of the cancers on last season, brought in a fresh group of people that seemed to have pretty good pedigrees. I remember looking them up before they played Arkansas State, and I was like, well, these guys on paper look like a really good team, and they just don't have anything. They have no firepower whatsoever. So I'm a little surprised that Georgia State, with the head coach in his 3rd season, just isn't finding anything in that no talent in that Atlanta base. As far as a surprise, you know what? I don't know if I really have a surprise, guys. It all seems to be shaking out the way it's supposed to be shaking out. So I don't know. I'm going to pass on that. I'm going to pass to Shane on the surprise.
I'm a little surprised at App State. Like, just they lost a lot of guys. I think their fans in particular maybe thought they could do better in the transfer portal than they did, but they ended up bringing back. So Dustin Kearns always does. He brings back a couple of guys who were pretty good role players for the year before, and then they're stars as their seniors. So like Miles Tate and CJ Huntley have been really, really good, and I expected them to be kind of middle of the pack, but right now Arkansas State's got a lead in the standings, but I wouldn't be surprised if App State is right there at the end, once it all plays out. So they're probably my surprise as far as just being a contender for the conference championship. Disappointment, I kind of agree with you on Georgia State. Like,
yes,
it's not even so much this season. Like, I don't know if I had high expectations for the season, but it's more like the total of the 3 years under Jonas Hayes, you kind of thought they'd be back to, I hate comparing one coach to the other, but you kind of thought the Ron Hunter days would be coming back eventually once they got, Atlanta guy in as a coach, his pedigree coming from Xavier. I just expected more by year 3 than we're really seeing from that program.
Yeah, and that's too bad because for a while there, Georgia State was the face of FunBelt basketball. They were the ones that you kind of thought were going to make it into the tournament, and sometimes they'd even win a couple games for you. And that program has really hit the skids in the last few years, and it's too bad because I feel like Georgia State could be a basketball school.
On the other side, on the women, are we really surprised that James Madison's sitting at 9-0 in
They've got
conference
those big
play?
Russians, Thibs. They've got the big Russians.
Shane, is it really the big Russians?
There is one big Russian, and she's having a good year, so that's definitely contributed to.
What's her name? Konakova. What? She's got a cool Russian name. What is it?
Susha Kozlova.
Yes, Kozlova. She's awesome.
That's a 3 vodka drink minimum there.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, on the women's side, I'm really kind of surprised at South Alabama. 0-8 with a second-year head coach. And in this day and age with the portal, we've seen it time and time again where you're on the struggle bus, but you're able to flip that roster quickly and kind of right the ship. She's sitting at 0-8, 4-15 overall. She's not righting the ship, and as the men say, burn the boats. That boat's definitely on fire there. So that's definitely my disappointing team. My surprise team, I'm going to go with Arkansas State there, Jeremy.
Okay.
8-1. Knew that they had a lot of talent, but didn't know how well and how quickly they were going to be able to kind of showcase the skills. They're definitely getting it done, though.
Yeah, last year the whole team really relied on Izzy Higginbottom and Lauren Pendleton. They're two great talents. Izzy Higginbottom ended up transferring to Arkansas. She's leading Arkansas in points. I'm not sure where Lauren Pendleton went. I think it was something like Murray State or something like that. And it felt like the program was in sort of a slide. I'd admit I kind of tuned out of it. I was like, if you can't win games with Izzy Higginbottom, then I don't know how you're going to win games, period. This team is they really spread the wealth. There's nobody scoring in double digits, but the team gets 30 points a game from the bench, which I think is the most in the Sun Belt. They really spread the wealth around. There's a lot of good 3-point scoring, and this team is actually pretty fun to watch. So, congratulations to Arkansas State. I'll tell you who disappoints me, though, Thibs. I'm going to throw it right back at you. ULM. I thought ULM basketball was sort of on the rise from last year and seems to have taken a step back.
I told you when they were picked 4th, it was a little too high. I thought that they were still on the upper half of the bracket.
Okay.
But that was a little too high. So I fully expect them to be around the 5-6 mark. I know not too far off from that 4th prediction. They're currently sitting at 6th place right now. They're kind of right where you expect them to be. It hurts because there's a couple games in there that were kind of that one possession type of game or just slipped away very late. And so it looked a lot more lopsided than it was, that they really could have had another 2 conference wins under their belt already, including Arkansas State, but they just happened to slip away. And so those are the ones that really hurt.
Shane, can you weigh in?
Shane,
I heard some squeaking back there.
Yeah, I got a dog attacking a stuffed penguin next to me. So that wasn't me doing the squeaking or the growling.
We're boring Shane, and he's breaking out toys to play with mid-show. I'm sorry, Shane.
It's been tough. My disappointment I'll go with right now, and it's not necessarily overall, but it's maybe more recently. I'll go with Coastal Carolina. They had great non-conference. They didn't play the toughest schedule, but they got off to a really good start in non-conference. They had the Coastal Chaos defense going. They having a lot of success with full court traps and things like that. Really causing teams trouble. They've lost 3 in a row now. in conference play. They're below 500 in conference play. I thought they were going to be one of the challengers based on what they did in the non-conference, and they still might be. They played a tough schedule to start the first half of conference play, but I'm a little disappointed that they're not maybe more up there with Troy and Arkansas State and some of those teams that are challenging JMU right now.
Yeah, Jimmy Mads made Coastal Carolina look pretty bad. But you know who made also look bad? Louisiana making Troy look bad. What the hell was that?
And that was right after Troy absolutely destroyed Texas State by like 50.
Yeah, so there you go. That's the Sunbelt entropy I often talk about. There's no way to predict what's going to happen in the Sunbelt, and there's no sport that's immune. It could be tennis, it could be track and field, it could be football and basketball and baseball. Sunbelt entropy absolutely is real and it rules.
Except for fishing. We know that ULM's a dominant fishing force.
Is this true?
I don't know.
Oh, shit.
Bowling, we know who's going to dominate bowling.
Oh, yeah. Arkansas State, they're in good shape. Yeah. You know, when March comes around, and maybe 1st of April, we'll have to start talking bowling. You know that, right?
Of course.
Maybe it's another spinoff show that we can have.
Okay, maybe I'll stick it with Raising Hell. How's about that? I'll just do that. I won't subject you guys to bowling.
Thank God. Shifting gears.
Wait, don't shift gears just yet, Thibs. Shane, I want to know what, like, I went ahead and put together like a mid-season, like a first and second team roster. Are there some players that you looked at and thought these guys look really good, like really surprised you?
Surprised me, or just looked good?
How about just look good? Yeah, not necessarily surprised.
There's a lot of players that look good. I didn't go to the trouble of a whole first and second team roster, but are we
the content?
Did we want to talk MVP, mid-season MVP type players, or
yeah, just guys that
guide me in the right direction here.
Give me a top 3 guys, and they don't think about position. They can be anything. Just top 3 guys that you've seen, that you see on the court and go, that guy's going to dominate.
Okay, right now I will go. Miles Tate would be my player of the year right now.
Wow.
Okay. I think he's just really, really good on both sides of the floor. Really, really good defensive player, and gets everybody involved there. So he's my player of the year right now. I'll throw Tate and Connerway at Troy.
Damn, that guy. He is awesome.
They're similar. Everything I just said about Miles Tate almost applies to Tate and Connerway, but he's probably my second player right there. And then hard to pick a third between Denaje Harris has been so good for Southern Miss. I'm going to go Kobe Julian.
Yeah.
Because I saw how Arkansas State struggled without him, and maybe his numbers aren't the best, but they've been winning since he came back. And I think that just shows you what kind of player they got there.
Yeah, he provides a different layer. Thibs, do you want to add in on that?
I got to go Viva La Boobcat there, and good old Tylen Pope. Seeing him play, he's a great paint presence. Love watching him play. Love watching him go to the basket. He is a big difference maker there for Texas State.
Yeah, a guy that you haven't mentioned, but a guy that I just love watching him play. I even like watching him prepare before the game is CJ Huntley from Appalachian State. Just a big dude, 6'11". He can hit the 3. I love big guys that can hit the 3. I think he's been really awesome. And I like Elijah Hutchinson Everett out James Madison. I think I just like the big guys that get the rebounds. And he definitely fits that bill. I was really surprised watching him play versus Arkansas State, how dominant he was inside. So those guys, I think, merit some mention too.
You just like hyphenated names.
I do. I wish I had a hyphenated name. I might just make myself up a hyphenated name, like Jeremy Crackbone Harper.
I thought that was your alias.
I'm making it official.
Or was it Crackpot?
Come on. Let's move on. Thibs. Come on, you're supposed to keep it professional.
I am. It's 15 years in a row also, so I got to stoke the rivalry. Shifting gears, the Sun Belt has 7 players that will be playing in New Orleans for the Super Bowl.
Wait, are we licensed to say Super Bowl? Shouldn't we be saying something stupid like the big game?
They're playing in a really big bowl in New Orleans.
All right.
Is that better?
I guess.
Between the Buffalo Chicken Wings and the Philadelphia Phillies.
Yeah.
Wait, can you say Phillies or does it have to be cheesesteaks?
Go on.
Okay. Most notably, defensive end from Troy, Javon Solomon.
Yeah.
He's a Bill.
Wait, who do you think's playing in the Super Bowl?
What?
Who do you think's playing in the Super Bowl?
Oh, yeah, it is. I'm in denial. I'm not cheering for the Chiefs. Screw them. I kicked them out.
Wait, yeah, the Bills aren't playing.
Well, I kicked them out. So
we're not NFL.
Hey, my state, my game, my rules.
Okay, that's fine. We can put the Bills in there. We'll just squeeze them in. There'll be 3 teams playing in the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah,
might be the only way the Chiefs
do that in a
lose.
Puppy Bowl sometimes.
Yeah, or like the lingerie bowl. How does Josh Allen look in a Teddy? I don't know. We can find out.
So for the Chiefs, on their practice squad is former Southern Miss receiver Jason Brownlee.
Okay.
My favorite, the long snapper from Old Dominion. How much weirder can it be of Rick Levanto with the Eagles?
Okay, make sure you get the right teams.
I'm done. Ethan Driscoll, offensive lineman. He's with the Chiefs.
Okay.
That's all I got for you.
Wait, who did Driscoll play for?
He was a Marshall guy.
Okay, that's right. Yeah. All right, that's not bad. For 2 teams in the Super Bowl, having a handful of guys from the Sun Belt in there, that's pretty good. I'll take that.
Yeah.
Did you guys
And
watch? Are you guys going to watch the Super Bowl?
I don't even know who's playing in it, so no.
I week to decide if I'm watching it or not.
Yeah. You know what? There's people hate the Chiefs and they're not particularly wild about the Eagles. I could care less about who's in it. I want the best teams in there. I feel like the best teams are in there. So I wish the Lions had done a little bit better. I would prefer that. But I'll probably who am I kidding? I'm gonna watch the game.
Yeah. It's weird for me. I grew up rooting for the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And now I feel like just embarrassed to even like go out in like a Chiefs shirt or something because it's like people think I'm just on the bandwagon. And like I had a Steve Bono jersey when I was a kid.
Yeah. That's what you need to pull out, the Steve Bono jersey.
Yeah, so it's like I don't know. It's hard to get as into as I should for it since it's weird to think about Kansas City having a dynasty in anything. It's pretty weird, but I will root for the Chiefs, but it's not as passionately as people might think if they knew me when I was a kid. So,
are you cheering for the Chiefs or are you cheering for Taylor Swift?
I'm okay with Taylor Swift being there at this point, I guess.
Oh yeah, man, she's the lucky coin. I'll tell you what. Were you a Joe Montana Chiefs guy?
Yeah.
Were you a DeBerg? Remember Steve DeBerg?
Yeah, I remember the whole string of former San Francisco quarterbacks, which is why I thought Bono was going to work out too. Because
did quite. You know who was one of my favorite running backs? Priest Holmes. I loved that guy.
Yeah,
he was fun to watch. But yeah, okay. Yeah, we got the Super Bowl. It's coming up. What else we got, Thibs? We got some Sunbelt stuff, right?
That's all I got for you since I
softball.
I know nothing. I know nothing. There's softball coming up, but Arkansas State doesn't field a team because they're putting all that money into bowling.
I tell you, bowling balls aren't cheap. You can either have a bowling team or a softball team. Pick. Get one or the other.
But it seems like the preseason polls and teams should be coming out for softball maybe this week, maybe next week, but it's got to be soon since that's all starts next week as well. Baseball right around the corner as well. So when do you start trying to line up some round ball guests?
I've seen that Troy is getting some top 25 recognition for baseball, which was a little surprising to me. Usually you think of Coastal or Texas State or South Alabama as being those big baseball programs, but this year it seems to be all the buzzes around Troy, Louisiana.
It's a pretty senior laden team, and Skylar Meade making a big push to do the one thing he hasn't done yet. He's been to the regional, he's gotten a regional win, but he has not won a Sun Belt Conference title yet.
That, you know what? Every coach should have that as their main goal, right there, right on top of the totem pole, win a Sun Belt championship. I'm not talking about every Sun Belt coach. Every coach that coaches in North America, that should be their goal.
To win the Sun Belt.
To win the Sun Belt. Absolutely.
So one other thing I do want to throw out there, it's been all over the X, it's been all over message boards.
Okay.
Realignment is flaring up once again.
With I haven't noticed.
The Viva La Boobcats once again being rumored to be leaving us for the Pac-12.
Yeah,
and I get that if you told me, hey, we're going to the Pac-12, overall, I'd be pretty excited.
Yeah, you're thinking Pac-12. The Conference of Champions.
But is this Pac-12 that gives you still no regional rivalry?
Nope, none.
That still gives you high travel costs?
Yeah.
And really nothing, no value add to it.
Zero.
Is it worth Texas State looking to leave the belt for the two?
Here's what's going to happen with this new Pac-12. Eventually, somebody's going to pick up Washington State and Oregon State. I don't know who. Maybe it's the Big 10 or the Big 12 or whatever, because the appetite for more teams is just too great. And when that happens, this Pac-12, this new stupid Pac-12, is going to collapse again. So why not just stick with a conference that's stable and working? Like, listen, Texas State, do what you want, to tell you the truth. If you feel like that's where your glory is, go take your shot, man. But I'm telling you, this Pac-12 is a pile of quicksand. It is a mirage. It is a disaster waiting to happen. Just, if I were you, I would run from that proposal. Who knows? Maybe they are running from that proposal. I don't know. Shane, what do you think? Shane, back me up on this.
I think Jeremy actually made a good point. Is that
write that down?
I do see. I see the immediate appeal to the Pac-12 to some degree. I mean, especially if they get a $10 million TV deal, say, and Sunbelt's still stuck around 2, that $8 million is a significant difference. Like that makes some sense. But Jeremy's absolutely right. What does happen when one of those teams, 2 of those teams gets poached again? Washington State, Oregon State, if they end up going with, a Memphis or somebody like that, what happens when the Big 12 decides they want those 3 schools? And yeah, you're right back in the mix of it. Maybe a few years of more money is worth it, but yeah, then you're stuck, traveling to play. Who's even going to be in there? Utah State? No,
Colorado State.
Yeah, UNLV. I can't remember who's going to be in there, but you're basically stuck going to play in the Mountain West. Yep. Without those marquee teams, if that happens, then it's kind of. I don't know that that's going to happen, but it's happened so often. You can't really expect the next in line conference to stay together, because they never do.
I tell you what makes me even angry. Actually, I'm not angry about if Texas State leaves. That's fine. But what makes me angry is seeing Northern Illinois pull this football only shit with the Mountain West. I mean, come on. What's the point of that? Is there something I'm missing, Shane, about that whole deal? I mean, why? What's the point of it?
it's annoying. I guess I'm sort of almost relieved though that they didn't end up taking any other Mountain West teams with them, because Northern Illinois, I mean, it's a good program, but it's a little bit. It's not like the packed in there like Ohio, Michigan teams that are just all right in there, all like longtime rivals, really tight geography. Buffalo's out there on an island too. UMass is going to be, but it's almost like if you had to lose a team, Northern Illinois is okay because it's kind of like out there on its own. They're, other sports can join the, Missouri Valley or Summit League or something like that, and they fit just fine. They're not really a powerhouse in anything else but football. So I would love to see the MAC just stay together as it has been.
Because the MAC is so nice.
Not even add a UMass or whoever you're adding, but like if you're going to lose a team, I don't know. It's not the end of the world if only Northern Illinois goes.
There's no conference more gentle and cute than the MAC. Leave those guys alone. Leave the MAC alone. They've got Tuesday night footballs. They play in the tundra. They have the amusing basketball years. Just leave the MAC alone, guys. Can't we have something that's pure and beautiful in college sports?
Yeah, it's the FunBelt.
That's right. Well, I like to think of ourselves as the bad boy of college sports.
Well, I mean,
maybe that's too much.
The Sun Belt's kind of like the better. I mean, I know we're all biased, but the Sun Belt's kind of like the better version of the MAC.
Well, it's a lot warmer, that's for sure.
Well, and like, we get to play games on Thursdays and Saturdays, and
that's true. I
rivalry part of it, but not so much of the. Yeah, I'm an Ohio State fan who actually went to Toledo, and I don't care what's happening to Toledo on Saturday because the Buckeyes.
Wait, I thought that was the norm. I mean, we got to deal with that of guys that have never even been to Baton Rouge or LSU's campus. They've been to Tiger Stadium, but they've never been there. And then they were sitting next to me in a class.
Well, I'll say this. Out here in the East, I don't know if we deal with that as much. I mean,
no, we deal with that here.
There's a little bit of it, but, if you're a Tar Heel in Boone, you're going to hear about it. Like, it's not quite the same.
I tell you what, it used to be, it was not uncommon to see an Arkansas State sweatshirt on the campus of A-State when I was going to school there, and it was aggravating. You don't see that anymore now. There's just too much pride now. But before then, that could happen. It takes a lot of work to pull your school away from that SEC orbit. I am glad that we've got some guys out east that know how to get it done right, Shane.
Yeah. It's not that like it doesn't exist at all at these schools, but I think every Sunbelt school at least has like a legitimate fan base and enough to put 15,000 of their own fans in the stands most Saturdays. And I'm not sure the MAC has that right now.
Have you ever seen like a 10-year-old kid saunter into a JMU sporting event wearing a Cavaliers sweatshirt?
No, not really.
Right.
It doesn't happen a ton.
Thibs, have you ever seen like at a ULM sporting event, like a 15-year-old kid wandering in with a LSU hat on?
More like an LSU sweatshirt with a Louisiana Tech hat.
Oh, God. You should be arrested for that on the spot. I don't care if you're 15. Well, that doesn't matter in Louisiana. There are no laws in Louisiana, right? There's no age limit to go to prison.
The only thing confusing I've ever seen like that, though, I remember when I was in college seeing a guy on ULM's campus wearing a Grambling sweatshirt with a Southern beanie.
Wow.
And I was like, I didn't know that you could do that. I thought that was definitely an arrestable offense.
Yeah, his atom should have collapsed into a black hole. You can't do that.
But you can't lose the Bayou Classic if you cheer for both, right?
No, you're a winner either way. Maybe that was the thinking back there. Maybe this is genius level.
It's true. That's how I went for the Super Bowl. I put a prop bet on Bet Online.
Oh,
Put a prop bet on Philly weeks ago to win the Super Bowl.
and look at you, man. You're riding high.
Chiefs to win. Yeah, so I'm good either way.
See, I'm just trying to screw Metlin out of that. That's why I dropped him out of the Super Bowl.
Yeah. You just said they're not going to be there. You know, I almost put $5 last night on the Warhawks Thibs, and I would have if I had gotten to my computer in time. And then I felt bad when I didn't, because that would have paid off pretty good for me. $5 on Bet Online, the preferred betting platform for FunBelt Podcast.
And on that note, broken dreams, broken hearts, plugs, promos, parting shots. Shane, what do you have for us as we close out another episode in season 5?
I'm gonna plug Netlin. I had a week off, wasn't feeling great, didn't get an episode in, but we're gonna have one coming up soon, and may talk a little bit of Warhawks and their big episode. If I can get Thibs to stick around and record this one with me.
Wow, that's a huge get to get Thibs on the show. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Jeremy, as my agent, did you approve that?
I got my cut, but you won't receive your residual. So sorry about that.
Fantastic. Business as usual. Jeremy, what do you have for us?
I talked a little bit on Raising Hell today, and I'll kind of touch base on it about guys. I actually didn't watch the game. I didn't watch Bills versus Chiefs. I had other things to do in my life. But there seemed to be a lot of complaining about the referee. Just bitching and complaining about the referee somehow shielding the Chiefs. Why in this day and age aren't we chipping the footballs? Basically, why aren't we allowing technology to take over the game? We see it in tennis. We see a little bit of it in baseball. And it's always under the auspice, hey, we got to get it right. You know, and I get it. You know, my St. Louis Cardinals, you know, they famously lost to the Kansas City Royals off a botched play at first base, right? You know what I did? I got over it. And in fact, that error that happened, that umpire error, is becoming ingrained in the lore of St. Louis Cardinals baseball. It's just part of it. It's part of the game. Human error is part of the game. Overcoming human error is part of the game. Overcoming human weakness is part of the game. You can't just jump into a car and drive it into the end zone and call it a touchdown. No, you're limited. You're limited by how fast you run, how strong you are, your vision, your reflexes. You've got limitations. And part of those limitations is that there are human beings on the field calling the game. And you've got to get over the fact that sometimes a call will be blown. Sometimes a referee sneezes. Sometimes the umpire forgot to put in his contacts. It's fine. It is part of the game. It's baked in there. There will always be that human element. Why not replace a pitcher with a machine if you want perfection? Why not let a robot hit your golf ball 400 yards every time and get rid of sand traps? Let's get rid of water hazards. Why have anything that's not anything less than perfection? Why? Because the imperfection is what makes sports great. And the officiating and its foibles and weaknesses and vulnerabilities is part of that weakness. And overcoming that weakness is what makes sports great. Please, for the love of God, stop trying to put more technology in games. Let's have more humanity in games. Thank you.
Jeremy.
Yeah.
Do you know who got on when Don Dinkinger blew that call in '85?
Who got on base?
Yes.
Who was it? It wasn't Brett.
No.
No, who was it? No, I can't remember. Who was it?
It was Jose Orta.
Okay.
Do you know who the only person the Cardinals got out that inning was?
What's funny is that
Jose Orta.
And a lot of people
Didn't end up making a difference.
I know, and there's a lot of people who forget that there was another game after that.
Yeah.
We could have won that game, but that's what I'm saying. Fans get so focused on an error, they forget about the other 9 innings. They forget about the other games played. Oh, it's all because of that one error. It's not. Get over it. Get over the blown call. And next time, make a play that it cannot be blown.
All I could think of, Jeremy, while you were saying all that was the scene from Animal House where Bluto is going off talking about the Germans bombing Pearl Harbor. And they just look at each other like me and Shane just looked at each other going, Germans? And Shane gave me the, don't worry, he's on a roll.
I was
just waiting to say my piece about the 85 World Series.
yeah,